Hey everybody, this is Michelle with Stampin' Butterfly. I'm so glad you can join me today. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the US, and today I wanted to share my alternatives and some ideas for the December Paper Pumpkin Kit. Sorry for the voice, I've had a cold and been sick for the last couple weeks, so I'm hoping I hold out so that we can finish up the cards, but I have a bunch to share with you at the end of alternatives. And then right now we'll go ahead also and make one together with a little bit of alternatives going on. So if you are joining me, please drop me a hello. I want to pop over and make sure it looks like I'm in the right place. So thank you again for joining me. It's kind of midday. It's not normally the time I am online, but I thought today, since my voice seemed good early on, we'd go live during the day versus the evening. All right, so let's take a look at the kit this month. And it is a beautiful kit. It's called Notes from the Heart, and it has a great set of sentiments. So let me grab the little backing so you can see it better. So it came with a lot of great sentiments that you'll be able to use for a slew of cards. You've got best of luck, lots of love, happy birthday, just a note, thank you, congrats, hello, and get well soon. And each one has one funky cool letter with this neat little font over here. So those are a great versatile stamp set to add to your collection. And the ink spot this month is Blackberry Bliss, which I love. We'll be using my big ink pads to do our card today, and I actually brought in Old Olive because that is one of our coordinating colors in the kit. And this kit makes 9 cards, and it has 9 coordinating envelopes. And then there's also the add-on if you bought the dies for the set, which I'll share some alternatives I made also. Okay, so in our instructions, we'll kind of take a quick look. I think we're going to do the fern card. I only made one of those. So we'll go ahead and make another one with a slight bit of alternatives on that one. And basically they show you in the first step which pieces go to each card. And then they walk you through, and you've got your tape down the side so you can measure any kind of twine or anything that's included in your kit. All right, so let's move some of this out of the way. I think we're going to do it as a get well. So let me just pull out the card that I did make with the fern. So this one I just changed it up a little bit. So I'll go through the card pieces. But what I did, and it's kind of hard to see, I embossed the background. And then I did it like they showed. I glued it flat with the vellum behind and then the fern leaf. And I popped up the sentiment. And I used Old Olive instead of Blackberry Bliss. So those were the alternatives I made. So I think this one, we're going to go ahead and emboss the background. And maybe we'll use a blending brush to kind of pop the green. And I did some alternatives where I popped these up on the dimensionals. And I definitely liked that better. So we will go ahead and do that variation together when we do our card. All right, so we'll leave that one out since that's kind of our guide. It came with some tear tape. I have a rogue bow from somewhere. It comes with your dimensionals and your gems, so we'll go ahead and get all our pieces out that we're going to use. We've got some tear tape. Let's go with the Get Well Soon. I'll set that over there. And let's see what we've got. So we've got some envelopes that come in the kit. They give you these stickers to put on the front because you can't write on the dark green. So they come like this. And then you add your sticker. And I made some alternatives with that and I cut apart one of the envelopes. So I'll show you that as well. All right, so now we need some card bases. It looks like I have some alternative pieces hanging out in here. All right, so we'll need the fern, which I popped out already, and a vellum piece. And we'll go ahead and stick with this circle with the little gold trim, similar to the original card. Oh, and then we need a card base. All right, so they're already scalloped and they look really pretty. So you've got those, and they have a little bit of yellow kind of spattered throughout there as well. It's kind of hard to see on camera. All right, I think that's all we need from here for now. And, oh no, we don't need these pieces. Let's move those out of the way. All right, so we're going to use Old Olive. Like I said, I liked that a little bit better. And we're going to go ahead and fold the card base in half. They've already scored it for you. just use the bone folder to set a little bit better. We're going to go ahead, and you could also do like a framed out piece in here with another color, which is also pretty cool. You could do like 3 3/4 by 5 and then leave the scallop as a border. But we're going to go ahead and emboss that piece. So I'm going to have to grab my big shot over here, or stamp cut and emboss machine, I guess as it's called these days. And we'll go ahead and use the 3D fern embossing folder. So let me grab this for a second. All right, so we're going to need our plate system. Let's see if I can fit it all in here. Since it's 3D, we're going to do plate 1 and plate 4. I think this one is, yeah. All right, so we're going to put our card front in the embossing folder and line up the square mark with the edge. Now, I find my machine is too tight to fold this over and run it through, so I'm going to run it sideways. Now, they tell you you should always run this piece through first when you're putting it through your machine, so you just have to be careful that it's not going in crooked and it doesn't crack your embossing folder, but mine's been doing okay. So I don't do it all the time, just once in a while, depending on what the card is. So we're going to run that through. A little bit of a bang. All right, let's go ahead and move this back out of our way. All right, and see if you can see that. Look how pretty that is. All right, and the cardstock's pretty thick, so it does okay as a card front. Sometimes if it's a little thin, it gets wobbly if you do that as your page without a separate layer. Let's get some grid paper because we're going to do some coloring. All right, so we're going to use some old olive, and I just have my green blending brush. I kind of use it with different shades of green. So you always want to ink it up, start off the paper, and then kind of go on, so you don't end up with the big green blob. Could have brought my glass mat over here, actually. That's a nice way to do your blending if you have one of our glass mats, but I left it over at my desk. So I'm going to go ahead. I think I'm going to do the whole front, so I'm going to fold it in half so I could get the edge. Originally I was just going to do the piece behind the fern, but I think I'm going to do the whole thing. All right, that looks kind of good. Let's do a little scallop over here. And maybe a little bit over there. Now another thing you could do is you could emboss your actual leaf with a different pattern, and that kind of gives you a fun look. So since we've already done the background with the green, let's see how that looks. Yeah, I think we're going to leave that and not color up our leaf. We're going to leave it white. All right, let's take a quick look and see how that looks. Yeah, that looks really nice. Now you could add in 2 colors. So like I did it really light, so the old olive, you could probably bring in some mossy meadow if you wanted to put some accents in there. So that's another thing you could do. Let's open this back up. And stamp our get well. Forgot to bring my foam pad over here. I find that with the photopolymer stamps, sometimes it stamps better if you have your foam mat underneath you, but forgot it on the other side of the room. Okay, so that's really all there is to this card, is a little bit of stamping. We're going to need some dimensionals, and they just show it where you kind of put your leaf behind there, and you do a little taping. One of my other cards you'll see is I kind of cut the leaves apart and spread them out a little bit so they could pop out the sides a little more. You just have to be careful that you don't overhang the sides of your card. All right. So only thing bad with this is I just remembered I wanted to pop it up with dimensionals, so we're not going to peel the backing off. We're just going to leave that, so that way they stay attached. And we're going to put a bunch of dimensionals on here. We could overlap the leaves so they hold on to it. And then, let's see, I've got some more. I didn't bring my scissors over. But you could trim the outside edges of this and get more dimensionals out of there. All right, let's put some on here. But what we'll do first is we're going to put our fern on the backing, so that way we could see. We don't want this to be like double dimensional depending on how it overlaps. And you can decide where you want to put that, right? So let's see what their sample shows, if we want to do it exactly the same. So they kind of put theirs straight up and then just a note, and they did it off to that. When I did my card, my original card, I put mine near the bottom. So we could decide if we want to do that. That actually doesn't have much dimensional, so that might actually work okay. So we could do it like that. And then we'll add some more dimensionals to the back of our sentiment. Peel off the backings. And then we pop it up. Look how quick that came together and cute. All right, so let's go ahead and add some gems. So I'm going to use my take your pick tool. Sometimes I use the pointy end, sometimes I use the sticky end. It just kind of depends on my mood or what works better. Some of them pop off easier than others. So we got that. And maybe we'll do one over here. Alrighty. So there's our card. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but the little stems stick out of the leaves. So if you don't like those two little pieces and they bug you, I don't have my scissors, but you could trim those little guys off. And you can look here and see, okay, well, it seems a little white in this section. So maybe I want to pop up my leaves and, oops, add a little more green with my blending brushes, right? So you could always do that too. So there you go. There's one of our cards. So you could do this with the different variation. In here you've got the pink flowers and then the purple berries. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of my alternatives I've also made with this. All right, so let's move this paper out of the way. Move some of our stuff over so we have a cleaner workspace. All right. So this was the original card that I did. It's slightly modified from there as shown. And see now that one's nice and dark over here, so you can come back later. A smaller blending brush and add more green if you wanted. And all right, let's see, what other modifications did I make? So for this one, I went ahead and used the blending brushes and the Blackberry Bliss and just colored up the vellum leaves. And then propped them behind, and then popped up this whole piece. So I glued the vellum flat and I popped the flowers and popped the sentiment on this one. So that's pretty close to the original. Then I went ahead on this pink one and wanted to get a pop of color. So I went ahead and did the old olive on the leaves, and that probably would have looked really cool on here too. We probably could have gotten away with it because it's not super dark. I didn't blend it really dark, so the green leaves probably would have shown up. I used some soft sea foam with the plaid embossing folder, and then I popped all of these guys up and did the vellum flat again. And I don't know if you could tell, but I added some Winkostella to the flower in some places to give it a little extra shine and prettiness. And then for this one, I went ahead and kept the card base the same as the kit, and I just colored up the flowers and went ahead and put those there and added a little bit of twine. And I've been using Old Olive for a lot of these. I only use the Blackberry Bliss on the purple card. So I'm more of a monochromatic person sometimes, so went ahead and did that. And then here's a fun fold one. So what I did, your card comes like this, right? So I scored it and folded it in half. Did a little bit of dots. I think those were actually from last month's Nest Christmas one. They had some dots in there, so I think I used those with Blackberry Bliss. I went ahead and added a little Winkostella on the flower spots, and then this one I went ahead and I embossed. if you could tell. I embossed with our embossing folder, the leaves, and then also this little blackberry bliss panel, and then put some more little dots in there. So that gives you a little fun fold, you know, and let it overhang a little and just put a few dimensionals on this side to hold it on. And then I made this little tag. So it was going to be a card front, but it wasn't really working the way I wanted. So I used the tag that's in the coordinating piece, and I cut one of the card front. Kind of made it funky like that. And then you could add another piece on the back and write on it. So you could also, like I said, add it to a card front. I didn't get that far with it. Just left it as that piece I was kind of playing around. And then here's another one where I took the sticker from the envelope, and I cut the envelope apart. So this Mossy Meadow piece is from the envelope. And then I die cut 3 different colored leaves and use those dots again from last month's kit. And what those look like are in here. So the coordinating dies for this quarter were the Merry for last month, right, for the Christmas. And then there's this cute tag I just used on that other piece. And then here's the fern. So you could always die cut some extra pieces of those as well. And put those in your card. So then you've got your coordinating envelopes. Now they show it more, the sticker like centered on here, but since I want to put a return address, I kind of dropped it down a little bit, more like where your address section would go. So those are the alternatives I came up with. They were quick and easy. So the kit by itself is really pretty, but you can always step it up. I know a lot of the crafters out there like to jazz up their pieces a little bit more. And those are all the cards that I wanted to share. So I hope you enjoyed those alternatives. Let me know if you have any questions, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day. Bye-bye.